From Dublin to Amman, he brings with him a cinema shaped by justice, memory, and deep humanity. With us today, the acclaimed Irish filmmaker and actor, Sheridan. Welcome to Amman, Mr. Sheridan. How does it feel to be here?
It felt great. I was worried last week the festival mightn't happen, and then everything settled down and I could come, and it was a great feeling, you know. It seemed very peaceful country. I went to the Dead Sea, I loved that. The people all seem nice. Mostly I can get by in English, which is good. And I know it's not too far from Palestine and kind of the center of the Levant, so great history and, you know, deep spiritual kind of country.
We will talk about Jordan and Palestine. First of all, thanks for this nice word. What drew you to the Amman International Film Festival?
Well, first of all, I had the pleasure of meeting the organizers in Cairo when I was in Egypt last year. And they seemed just as nice as they've proved to be here. And they invited me, and I used to run an Arab film festival with Zara, my partner, in Dublin. And we ran that for 10 years, and we showed like Jordanian films, we showed Egyptian films. We had Omar Sharif as our guest the first year. And we spent more than 10 years advancing Arab culture, trying to show our daughter what she should be proud of, basically.
Let's talk about cinema. You have tackled justice and memory in your recent movie, Recreation. Why did that story matter to you?
Well, you know, it was about a murder that happened in France that has never been solved. And an Englishman was tried in France and found guilty, which I think was absurd. And as I had done the movie about the Irishman wrongly accused in England, I decided to do the Englishman wrongly accused in Ireland. And I think justice strikes at the heart of what I do. Like while I was making it, I went to a graveyard and I was wondering if I could find my grandmother's grave. And when I got there, in this deserted graveyard, there was one bunch of flowers, and it happened to be on her grave, and it was because she died 100 years earlier. And she died giving birth to my mother. And my mother always blamed herself for the death of her mother and never had a birthday. So I think she was the first wrongly accused in my life. So whenever I see somebody wrongly accused, it just sets off, it blows a fuse.
So it's interesting and emotional. As an Irishman, do you see parallels between Ireland's history and other struggles for justice today?
Yeah, I mean, I see similarities between Irish history and many histories. You know, it depends where the colonial structure was, whether, you know, like I see similarities between Palestine and Ireland, obviously because the British occupied both countries. The Belgians occupied the Congo, and it was an Irishman who exposed that. So the Irish have a great history of opposition to exploitation of indigenous people. And that extends across the world. Probably the only place it doesn't fully extend to, although it's beginning to happen, is the Native Americans of North America, who oftentimes remind me of the Palestinians, you know, and the same displacement happens.
You've mentioned Palestine. Um, how do Irish people generally relate to the Palestinian cause?
Well, you know, it's funny that 90% of Irish people, or 80%, fully support Palestine, and probably worldwide that they're the biggest supporters of Palestine. And that's all due to their history. In Belfast, it would be divided between Catholics and Protestants. The Protestants sometimes put out Israeli flags.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, Northern Europeans in general, for some reason, don't seem to support Israel more, say, than the Palestinians. In America, the red states probably would be the supporters of Israel. Why that is, I'm not quite sure. But in Ireland, we see ourselves as, we say we were like the Palestinians. We are like the Palestinians, and we'll always be like the Palestinians. Yes. So there's a deep bond, I think.
With the recent war in Gaza, how do you see the role of the filmmakers in moments of crisis?
Well, you know, I know from being here at the festival that there'd be no way for an outside filmmaker to get inside Gaza and film the reality as much as the people of Gaza have done. And they do that on their iPhones, you know. So the world has changed, you know. Film is now in everybody's pocket. So in my personal view, there's almost too much entertainment in the world. Like, there's so much, it's distracting, and you can entertain yourself to death. And there's not enough movies about the reality of situations. And I'd like to see movies that posit a potential outcome, you know, that can kind of draw a way out of conflict, point to a way out, be prophetic. I think on a deep level, if you were to ask me, what nobody talks about in film is belief. What is the belief system that the movie is showing? What is the structure of the belief behind it? And the only movies that really, I think, will last in time are prophetic movies, because they see a future rather than a past. They see, well, hopefully they see a hopeful future and something positive. And I think you kind of need prophetic movies about what's going to happen. Like, I don't think 1 million people are going to move to Jordan overnight. And I think even the suggestion of that is, like, dangerous. So I would like to see movies that address, like In the Name of the Father, the movie I made is about the non-violent father being the authority figure. And when you rule out, like, let's say you rule out religious difference, basically you have to get back to what is the way forward for humanity, and it has to be in a non-violent arena. It just has, we're too powerful, you know, to have wars, because lots of people have an atom bomb, lots of people have a nuclear bomb. Pakistan has one, India has one, Israel has one, America has one, England has one, France has one, Russia has one. And unless these situations are resolved, they'll escalate at some point to nuclear, and that'll be a disaster. And you need opposition to that escalation.
You just said that you experimented with Arab culture. Even your wife is Arab. If you were to make a film about Arab world, what kind of story would you tell?
Well, you know, as I don't know, and I deeply respect your culture and religion, I probably don't know enough about the Quran and the Prophet's philosophy to kind of get to the bottom of that. But within my limited knowledge, I'd be trying to make a movie that shows a collective people producing a hero. I'd like to find a hero within the Arab world who wasn't a political figure, you know, who was somebody who gives the people hope on a simple level, you know. And I think that I tried to do it. I tried to make a movie about the Lockerbie bombing, about Abdel Basset Megrahi, who I had grave doubts about being the person guilty. And I failed to get that made. In the end, they made a different version, even though I'd probably worked on it for 7 years. And it's very difficult to have, in Western culture, to put an Arab at the center. That's just what I found. That's just my experience. And it's not even political. It's kind of psychological, that people, it's about Asian. I'll give you an idea, the simplest way I could express it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't believe in violence, right? But I was once asked, like, if I had a question for James Bond, you know, because I'd worked with Daniel Craig. And my question, which I never got printed or whatever, was more of a joke. I said, you know, I know that as James Bond you have a license to kill and that you drive fast cars, but I wondered in your childhood or in your teenage years if you ever had a provisional license. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
A provisional license being a provisional license to kill. Like, nobody has a license to kill. The contradiction is the license to kill. The contradiction is Western culture thinking they've a license to kill, and James Bond is a heroic figure within that structure, and it's totally insane. It goes against, in our world, it goes against the fifth commandment: thou shalt not kill. Simple.
It's a different point of view. You have been nominated for 6 Academy Awards. Does recognition at that level shape the way you see your storytelling and responsibility as a filmmaker?
Yeah, look, I was very honored. I couldn't lie to you when I got the nominations. It was kind of like feeling like a moment of arrival. So yeah, it kind of made me realize the power of cinema. And I got there in the first 4 movies that I made, you know. So now I have a daughter who's half Irish, half Arabic, and I'm going to make a movie with her. I'm going to make an Irish-Arabic movie about going into Africa, father and daughter. So I think my responsibility changes, you know. It's more difficult to make movies now. It's more difficult to find funding. And I'd like to change the perception of the way people see the Arab world, if I could, you know, and kind of open a door into it, like all the different countries are. Like, if you said the Western world, for instance, well, if you limited it to 3 countries, France, England, and Ireland, they're all different, like vastly different. Yeah. And so is the Arab world. It can't be lumped together as one homogenous, you know, place. They're different, you know. But it's the failure to see the humanity and the difference that is making everybody see the Arab world as the Arab world. Like the Levantine, is that the Middle East? I don't know. You know, is Egypt? No, it's not. You know, North Africa is different. They're so vastly different. They're united actually by a language which is very unique, but oddly seems to be, you know, like the way the structure of the film world is that there are 350 million Americans, all speaking English. all in one jurisdiction. And that distribution allows the American cinema to dominate worldwide. Europe has 70 million max in most countries.
Limited variations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're limited by language in Europe, but they're not limited by language in the Arab world. And you don't seem to take advantage of it. I'm not criticizing, I'm just saying there doesn't seem to be that level of coming together to make something Arabic that can translate across the Arab world and compete with an American film. Maybe it's on television, you know. You might, if you were to ask me, I would think it will come out of a TV series.
Thank you, Mr. Sheridan. It was interesting and emotional talk. Thank you for sharing your voice and vision with us. Thank you again.
So happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.